The Little Red, or Rätisch Bähnli, is what the people of the canton of Graubünden call it. This is how they commonly express the fondness they feel for the Rhaetian Railway. But it's grander than it sounds. In 2008, the UNESCO awarded the Albula and Bernina Line of the Rhaetian Railway the status of World Heritage Site. With the construction of the Gotthard Tunnel and its opening in 1882, the mountainous canton's hope for a direct rail link with Italy was buried. Its thirst for action survived. Within 25 years, an almost canton-wide 375-kilometre narrow-gauge railway network was built from the ground up. The Albula Line between Thusis and Preda was able to overcome a 1,200-metre height difference.
In Thusis, the landscape loses the mellow charm of the Domleschg. Two ravines block the way to the south, the Via Mala and the Schinn. To cross the Albula in the Schinn Gorge in Solis, the railway pioneers created their first masterpiece, the Solis or Bachtobel Viaduct. It is only 20 metres high, but its pillars are anchored in two rock faces. The Albula flows nearly 100 metres below. A little later, the train runs past the Mistile Church, dating from the 9th century. It's part of a Carolingian monastery complex and one of the oldest surviving religious buildings in Switzerland. After the Schinn Gorge, the lower Albula Valley opens out with the villages of Tiefenkastel, Surava and Alva Neu Bad, gently nestling into the countryside. The next highlight is the famous Landwasser Viaduct before Filisur. Because it is being renovated, it is surrounded by scaffolding and eye-catchingly clad in red. This viaduct marks the beginning of an ambitious but highly efficient line layout, with which the Rhaetian Railway conquers the next 1,000 metres up to the Albula Tunnel. The largest of the 5 pillars are 65 metres high, and the trains run directly from the viaduct into a tunnel in a sheer rock wall. With trains once an hour, plus occasional freight trains and the various additional Glacier Express trains, around 60 train configurations roll over the bridge daily. That makes 1.7 million trains since the railway line opened. The Bernina Railway reaches its highest speed of 60 kilometers an hour on the single straight stretch before the Morteratsch stop. After that, it slows down. To the right and left of the track, there are plastic bags containing screws and springs, sleepers and new rails. And then suddenly the stones are clean under the rails, where a new track has been laid. The tourists travelling towards Morteratsch the next day may notice the construction team's yellow carriage on a siding, but most only have eyes and cameras for the natural beauty.
And there's plenty of that. For example, the Morteratsch Glacier with its milky river. Or the roaring waterfall of the crystal-clear Bernina Creek, which even the train driver never fails to admire. But the sight no longer surprises him, in contrast to most of the tourists who are travelling the route for the first time. The road rail crossing below Bernina Swat. The closed level crossing also gives road users the opportunity to whip out their cameras and combine the unique backdrop of the snow-white Bernina Massif with the bright red Bernina trains.
Principale, il fisso Bernina, raggiunge i 4.049 metri.
Then the train reaches the tree line. From now on, the Bernina Railway negotiates inclines and declines of up to 7%, making it the world's steepest railway without cogwheels. In poor weather conditions, the wheels of the locomotive carriage may spin and lose up to a third of their traction.
At exposed places, galleries protect the railway line. Perhaps the engineers used the work of church architects as a model here. Shortly before the summit of the Bernina, the Lake Naya, the Black Lake. Its water flows northward into the Inn, then into the Danube and onto the Black Sea. Just a few meters higher, the Lago Bianco, the White Lake. Its water flows to the south, to Italy and the Adriatic Sea, a classic watershed.
Nächster Halt, Poschiavo, Bernina. Nächster Halt, Albula.
Here, high above the Lake of Cavaglia, there is no road. But for exactly this reason, and because the view is breathtaking, the small hotel and few huts are popular destinations for hikers and railway freaks.
From the famous curve leaving Alp Groom, the highly skilled train driver who sits by the left window also sees Lake Poschiavo, lying 1,000 meters below for the first time. He often needs to brake firmly on this stretch because the line descends to the valley with a steep gradient of 7% through many curves and exposed places. These tight curve radii, which can be as small as 45 meters, require special short carriages that are only used on this line. Finally, the train reaches Poschiavo, the main town of the valley, at an altitude of 1,000 meters above sea level. It then rejoins the Bernina Pass Road, literally so in Le Prese, where the railway tracks actually run down the road.
Miralago, Lakeview, lies at the lower end of the Lake of Poschiavo. The existing hamlet of a few houses used to be called Meschino, miserable, because in the winter months no sunbeam reaches it. In the 60s, the residents managed to get the name changed. The number of visitors is said to have increased significantly since then. The route descends another 600 meters to Tirano, past another rarity of railway architecture, the spiral viaduct of Busio. The train turns through about 360 degrees on open track.
Finally, after a 2.5-hour journey, the Bernina Express reaches Tirano in the Valtellina and is already in Italy. For a long time, the Valtellina belonged to the Grey Confederacy, which became the future canton of Graubünden. Even today, Veltliner is seen as a local wine by the people of Graubünden. In the religion-related turmoil in this area, the Valtellina changed back and forth several times from the Catholic to the Protestant camp, before it was allocated to Italy by the Congress of Vienna in 1815. But that's another, more sinister story.